with beginning Maya 2015. So we had a little bit of an ice-breaking session the first time. Let me rephrase that. All right, so now that we got Maya here, let's go ahead and manipulate some objects. So what is Maya? Maya is a software that allows you to manipulate CG objects, which stands for computer or CGI, computer generated imagery. So basically what we could do is create models. In this case, Maya is a 3D modeler. So what do you need to put in there? So basically what we start off with is we start off with something called primitives. And here there's two different types. I'll go over these two different types. So I basically have a stopwatch going here, and I'm just going to try to, do another icebreaker session here for about 10 minutes and see how much information I can get out there. Alright, so you see here we have some basic primitives very similar to what you saw in some of my programming tutorials, like int, boolean, basic stuff that you manipulate to make it your own. Also, down here, this is the timeline. I'm going to delete the timeline. I'm going to crop it out for these first tutorials until I start using it. So here at the bottom, this is going to be deleted. I'm going to clap over the video just so I know where it is. Okay, so I'm going to crop that out. All right, so let's go ahead and. So now that's cropped out, let's go ahead and talk more about this. Okay, so there's two different types. Here we have NURBS and we have polygons. So now these are different modeling workflows. So each of them you have to model differently. And you'll see a lot of that here in a second. So for example, let's just bring out a polycube. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I clicked too many times. There we go. And then, so you see there, you just click on it once and you click into the viewport here onto the grid. This is called the grid right there. And then let's go ahead and go to surface and get it like a NURBS cube. And you see they look exactly the same, but like I said, Alt left click to rotate, Alt middle mouse button to pan, middle mouse button to zoom in and out, or you can do middle mouse button right click. Alt right click. So Alt middle mouse button, like I said, to pan. All right, so here's the NURBS cube, and you can see it over here that it tells you that it's a NURBS cube, and over here you could rename it to NURBS cube. And then here we have the polycube, which P cube is pretty good. And you notice here right away that there's a difference. If I select here, you see that the green select, and I have the select mode on, so that's Q if you're not selected on that. And I click onto the NURBS cube, you notice that all the sides are independent of each other. So if you want to do that, you probably need, if you want to move it around without distorting the sides, you probably need to group that. So what do I mean by that? If we go W and go into move key, you see that the manipulator tool here comes up. These squares here are actually new. I never seen that. 2014 they didn't have that. Well, I mean it's just move in that orientation. So is it locked? No, it's not locked. Okay. So yeah, so basically if I turn this guy, I mean you see it's not moving with the rest of the cube. Now if I go to this manipulator here, the whole cube moves. So it's a little bit better workflow for the cube, the polycube. But let's just I accidentally clicked too many times again. So this is a NURBS cylinder, and you notice that the NURBS cylinder doesn't have that problem. So let's go ahead and get rid of that polycube. So basically they look exactly similar. Even if you do a rendering of the scene, you notice that they're exactly similar. So they're used for two different things. NURBS is usually used for animation, so you see an animated movie, they'll probably use NURBS more than polygons. Why? Because NURBS are a little bit more precise. They don't get the rough edges that you usually have. Because this is usually for quickness, the quickness of rendering, so polygons are usually used in video games. So most engines will only take poly and will not take NURBS. But you can convert back and forth. You go and do modify and things like modify or edit. I usually don't, because I usually just use mostly there it is. So convert NURBS to polys, and you see it kind of adds a lot of extra faces that we don't really want. Okay, so first things that we're gonna want to do is we'll go ahead and mess around with NURBS, and we'll get into that. But probably if you're doing video games, you probably want to stick with polys. I would look at your you know, your engine and see what you want to use. But at the end, if you want, you could convert it from NURBS to polys, but it'll create a lot of extra faces. But right now we're going to work with NURBS, which is under surfaces. So let's go ahead and bring that cylinder back out. Okay, so here you see the manipulator here again. So as you see here, these locked to a certain axis. This is locked on the y-axis, and you see here the translate y is moving this guy up and down, and here this locks it on the, and you can see here with the tool down here. So this is the x, this is z plane, you know. So this is z plane here. This is z plane, and this is the x plane. So y, x, z, oopsies, z. And you can notice that they're also color coded here if that wasn't selected. So if I didn't select that guy would be blue, and you see here blue is Z, there's the X, which is red, and the Y is green. Alright, so again here we're at Q. This is select mode. This is what you could use to select your object, but you also could tell that if I'm in the move mode, I can still select my object. Now let's go over E. E is the rotate tool, and you see here we got a axis here that we could rotate it around, and you see here the rotating around the Y is doing it. And yet again, it's also color coded. You notice that this would be green because I selected it, it turned yellow. And this is red, so this is going to be rotating about the X, and if you look over here on the transform, the rotate X will change. And also you could do the same thing by just entering in a value and enter in exactly what you want, and it'll rotate there. So now let's say if I want to zero it out, let's say I wanted to set it to the origin. You could also go through with tab. So let's say I set this guy 0, oops, and then you could just tab through. And now we're at the origin, as you can see. Also, apparently they got rid of the movement cube. I'll have to find where I could get that back. I'll have that in the next tutorial. Alright, so that is that's the rotate tool, and you see here that you can do all different kinds of stuff. And this guy is just kind of relative to your position. You notice that it always lines up, that blue circle, and that's not to here. So that's kind of just relative to your axis. You know, as you see here, this is just kind of relative to where I was looking. So like this is where I was looking, so it's just going to rotate around where I was looking. But it's just kind of tumbling, right? So you want to try to usually stay away from that. So you want to go over the two. And also if you wanted to make the manipulator tool larger, if you use the plus and minus signs on your numpad, you can make the manipulator tool larger. So let's go ahead and hit the plus sign and make it larger. So yeah, there you go. And then finally we have R, which is the scale. And here the center button is, all of them are locked. So it's 1:1:1 ratio. So as you notice, they're all getting the same number scale here. All of them are the same number. They're locked to each other. And then here again, we got red, blue, green, Y, X, Z. And this locks to the Z. This only scales the Z as, wait, sorry. That one's the red one. Sorry, it scales to the X. Scales to the X. And then the blue one scales to the Z. And you see here if we go negative values, it basically just flips it. And for some reason they changed, Maya yet again changed that to where now it's black if it's flipped. changing a lot of stuff in this 2015. Like I said, I've been using 2014 and 2013, so there's a couple different things here. This was just released recently, I believe. Okay, so here is the Y scale, etc., etc. So you see that just basically right off the bat we have some, we're able to do some manipulations here and be able to, you know, put some wheels for a car. So let's say that, so we look at this, this is green, red, blue, so we want to go to the blue, rotate on the Z, 90. We could go here to edit, duplicate, and very quickly, you know, we already have wheels to a car, you know, or whatever. I don't know. So that's basically what I'm going to probably get to in this tutorial, and then talk about a couple other things. So you notice that when I mess around with stuff here, like for example if I put in a cube, you notice that this changed from a cylinder to a cube. Basically what this is this is to redo the last tool. The last tool that you used, you could redo that and enter that again. Let's see what else we got. So I'm going to pull up that navigation cube. In the next tutorial I'll show you how to do that, because that was something that I liked, and maybe have to reset some of these old preferences. But these are exactly the same preference you're going to see. I wanted to get rid of my old preferences and start with exactly what you started with. So right now I have the exact same thing that you started with. So if you do, okay, so the last thing I'll probably go over in this tutorial is if you want to save your scene. So you just go File, Save Scene As, and then you could just save it to your desktop or whatever. This is saving it to the default scene location, which you could do as well. And then if you want to reopen that scene, you double click it and it opens up. So yeah, and then, you know, let's just render it for fun. So this is what the render comes up with. It's pretty small because I didn't set the global preferences to a 1080p. Alright, so yeah, quite a bit of rambling on this tutorial. I hope that the main thing that you want to pick away from this is how to mess around with the manipulator tools. So again, this is select, this is move, and this is rotate. Now probably in the next tutorial I'm probably gonna go over the polygon modeling, and we'll probably go over polygon modeling first rather than NURBS, because polygon's a lot easier. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Also, this guy over here is what's called the channel box. If you don't know, it's a channel box. And then here's the attribute editor. So go ahead and click that button. That's what you're gonna want to have that. So hit show hide attribute editor, and that pops this guy up. So now you see it's got the two little bars here. And then you have the channel editor that pops up. This is actually the lowest size you could get it. So you're gonna want that. So go ahead and leave that up. Alright, so this has been Steven from LegitTechTutorials. Thank you for watching this beginning Maya tutorial. And if you like this video, please subscribe for this series and other series as well, and I will soon be getting my reference book. That link will be in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you have any questions, email me, and I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.